We're on.
I imagine we are. Well, so then hello everybody and welcome to this. Welcome to the Market Down podcast. Sorry about that. My shit was a little laggy. My name is Nick Cummings. Joined this week. We got a full crowd this week. Danny Hernandez, Chad Big Bad Johnson, and James Asante. We are reviewing AEW Dynamite, the third anniversary edition, but we have to start behind the scenes here, as there has been breaking news throughout Dynamite that Sammy Guevara and Andrade El Idolo had a confrontation backstage. This was originally reported by TMZ, I believe. They have since deleted their tweet, but it has affected the booking. There's a lot coming out, and honestly, we'll probably be getting news as we continue to do this live, so we will do our best to keep you updated, but we don't want to be checking our phones while we're doing this. So if you got anything, put it in the chat, and we'll go look. Anyway, the news was that there was a physical confrontation. We're not sure who started it. There have been reports that Sammy threw a punch first, perhaps Andrade threw, and then Andrade threw two. I've heard that report. I've heard conflicting reports. Also, Danny just doesn't believe that one. But the result of this was, in fact, that Andrade was sent home. He was originally planned to have a mask versus career in AEW match, I guess. A loser goes home match for him against Preston 10 Vance on Rampage. That has since been canceled. The Dark Order has now been rescheduled to fight for the Trios title against Death Triangle. Sammy was obviously not sent home. He was in the main event tonight. So, James, we're kind of, like I said, doing this on the fly here. It's a little chaotic, but I think you have the most information going into this. So what else did I miss? And what the fuck is going on?
So the initial reporting. So this got caught by TMZ. This got caught, all over wrestling Twitter. The initial reporting, which could be very different by the time we wake up tomorrow, is that Andrade approached Sammy Guevara. Words were exchanged, angry words, loud words, 4-letter words. And then Sammy threw a few punches. Andrade threw a punch back at him. Nobody knows if any of the punches actually connected, and nobody knows if anybody actually got hit, but they were separated. Andrade got sent home. Sammy Guevara did not. It feels icky. It feels really icky. One person who has a match on Friday, because Rampage is live this week. One person who has a match on Friday was sent home and had their match canceled, which is very weird. But the guy who is actually wrestling tonight got to wrestle in the main event of the third anniversary show for Dynamite. It feels really weird. I'm sure, like I said, more facts will come out. But no matter how you play it, it's weird that one person got sent home and the other didn't. It feels weird that one person's match got canceled and the others didn't, especially considering the timeline.
Yeah, it does reek a bit of favoritism. And I think it's important to mention where this all allegedly stems from. Andrade, a couple of days ago, did an interview with a Spanish language network where he did mention that for the most part, he doesn't have a problem with anybody in the locker room, but he did have a confrontation with Sammy Guevara after one of their matches where Sammy, and he used the word complained, or at least that's what it was translated to, that Andrade was hitting Sammy too hard. Now, Sammy had also sent out a tweet about somebody, and this was vague. He didn't add anybody being a like a pity hire or something, or that, you know what I mean? It was something of that ilk. I'm not remembering it correctly off the top of my head. If any of you do, feel free to jump in.
I think he said a favor hire to
thank
be
you.
exact. But
yes, it was a favor hire. And some people thought this was in reference to Garcia. There were a few people who even thought it might have been in reference to himself. Andrade took it as it was in reference to him. And that obviously, with everything that bared out afterwards, seems to be the case. Andrade went at him back on Twitter. Guevara went back at Andrade, calling him out this time now that he was only hired because of his father-in-law, obviously being Ric Flair, and he should just quit and go to WWE like everybody knows he wants to. Andrade said something back, and I think that has led to this entire confrontation tonight. So Danny, I'll go to you next as I'm continuing to throw information out. I did mention you don't necessarily believe that Sammy threw the first punches just because of you, what you think of Sammy's disposition. But there is a lot going on here, and it's hard not to think you might be seeing a bit of favoritism in the fact that Garcia was still allowed to wrestle tonight and Andrade was sent home and not allowed to wrestle on Friday.
So, first of all, this seems like a great time to lately answer chat from John Blattner, but now that that's out of the way on the air, not just in the chat, I do believe that Sammy is a little bit of a punk. You know, he doesn't actually strike me as a real tough guy, so I can't imagine him throwing the first punch. I'm not saying definitively that he didn't, but imagining him doing it is silly to me. Sillier than a guy wearing sunglasses and a blazer, who would do that. Sillier than a guy wearing sunglasses at night, who would do that. Sillier than a guy dyeing his mustache or slamming his face into flour. You know, who would do that?
Who the fuck would throw their face in the flour? We do cocaine here, sir.
Or powdered sugar.
Yeah.
That too.
I guess we know who's doing the 420 episode. But anyway. And also, it's just hard for me to picture Sammy being that person. And, you know, even if he was, I'm sure Andrade was kicking his door in and Sammy was just startled and attacking first, getting the jump on what he viewed as an inevitable confrontation. Ultimately, in all seriousness, somewhat, but not really, I don't give a fuck about either of these two guys, like, at all. That's why I don't like the fuck you Sammy chants we got tonight in the main event, because I agree with them. Fuck Sammy, you know, I don't like Sammy really as a person. As a wrestler, he's great. As a person, he's a fuckboy, you know. But Sammy wasn't the only one wrong here. Andrade is a baby. He's always been a baby since his career started on the main roster in WWE. He's just come off as like such a baby to me, like, you know, and that's unfair to me because everyone's bitter about not getting the push they think they deserve, and everyone has that you know, chip on their shoulder and has that those sour grapes. But for me, Andrade never had the right to have them. Like, he never did any. And this is, so I'm someone who loved his title match with Gargano. I think that was one of the best matches in NXT history. I don't think he did anything else memorable besides that, in my opinion. And
I mean, he tore his pants off beautifully. he beat Angel Garza to it.
Okay, I thought you were getting them confused for a second.
No, he beat Angel. He beat Garza to it.
But you know, he just never had it to me where I'm like, he's just a really good wrestler, but that's it. I don't see anything else in him. And in AEW, that is not nearly enough. Bro, being a really good wrestler there makes you normal. Like, what? So what's special about this guy? Like, cool, he has some interesting gear for his entrance, but then he takes that gear off and he just looks like another dude. Like, I've never gotten, and he always strikes me as someone who thinks he's better than he is. Like, no one's a bigger Andrade fan than Andrade, you know? Like, I truly believe he believes his own hype more than anyone else, and he's overhyped. So just imagine how he feels, you know? So all this fight aside, all this shit about him complaining on Twitter and wanting, you know, and leaning into the loser leaves AEW or half loser leaves AEW stipulation, you know, would be all fine and dandy if I cared about him enough to, you know, invest into it, where it's like, he's joking like, yeah, I hope I do lose. I'm like, yeah, I hope you do too. But then again, I don't want him going back to WWE. So I don't even know where the win is here. I guess he leaves AEW and just wrestles for AAA. Maybe he's the guy to bridge the damage between AAA and New Japan, you know, because he said he wants to work with New Japan.
I don't know. He threw a lot of shade at AAA on that interview too, man. He was fucking just coming out guns a-blazing.
Yeah. So I mean,
to be fair to that though, the issue with AAA that he called out is justified. Like that is a big grievance, and he is a big name to call that out. So it's good that he did. But what happened?
Sorry, nothing going.
I think he was laughing at the fact he called him a big name, but he's right, Danny. Like
in Mexico, at the very least, he is.
Yeah.
But the reality is, when all you become known as is a guy who complains, it doesn't matter when your cause is justified. You're a whiner, you're a baby, you're just forever unhappy. And this is coming from a guy who has defended Andrade for a very, very long time. And the reality is, Andrade is a guy who we've gone in depth in the past. And Danny, I'm sorry, I'm sort of derailing you a little bit here.
No.
But the reality is, a couple weeks ago, last week, whenever we were talking about Malachi Black or Buddy Matthews wanting to go back to WWE, I didn't have a single issue with it, because I thought, you know what? It's on their terms that they want to go back. And it wasn't on their terms that they had to leave in the first place. Andrade only got out of his WWE contract because of who he was dating / who he's married to right now. So the fact that he wants to go back now, maybe we're getting worked. I could give him that. It's very possible. But if this is legit and he wants to go back, I have no sympathy for him. I'd rather see him sit on the couch for the next however many years than be allowed back in WWE.
He is a noted troll as well. So
and that's why I think it's possible we're getting worked.
Yeah, I think some of it was a work, but this is I think beyond that at this point.
Well, the fight has nothing to do with it.
Yes, but him wanting to go back WWE stuff is just him trolling, I think.
If we are being worked, cool. But you know what? No matter which way this goes, I don't care come Friday at all.
Yep.
I don't care. This is the only time I care about this. This is the only time I'm going to talk about Andrade with any sort of emotion behind it. Because tomorrow, all the wrestling sites, they're just going to keep talking about this and keep talking about it. And I'm not going to care. I will not care about this at all tomorrow, because Andrade means it's so much nothing, which I know is like a contradictory thing. You can't mean so much nothing, but that's how much nothing this guy freaking means.
Can I counterpoint you?
Yeah.
We should care tomorrow if this is a work. We should care tomorrow if this was all just some big story. And not because of Andrade, but because this is not
else around it. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not the place. Absolutely. And that's true, but I won't care about Andrade. So
fair enough. But
I'll just be more disappointed in AEW, which is weird because they're doing some of my least favorite things in wrestling, but also the Acclaimed are the champs. So everything's right with the world. But,
Danny, let me. Chad has been sitting there stoically since we've started. I'm having a hard time reading him with the glasses.
He's been super emotional. What are you talking about?
Let me bring him in here. Chad, your opinions on this, please.
Okay, so in regards to the fight, get ready. This is going to be like the fucking Sally's Comet of Mark It Down. I am on Andrade's side.
You mean Haley's Comet?
Sure.
Now is not the time for fact checking. Okay.
It's like, who the fuck is Sally?
Sally, Haley.
Wait. I think, and I might be wrong on this too, so I might be doubling down on this, but I think Sally's Comet was the comet in Hey Arnold in the episode where they want everyone to turn all the lights off.
No, that was straight up Haley's Comet.
Oh, it didn't even change. Okay, so then I don't know. I'll try, Chad.
I'm a celebrity. It doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter. Whatever I say is correct. Right. Yeah, I'm just right. Just go with it, guys. Anywho, I'm actually on Andrade's side this time, fight wise, only for the fight. Because if we think about it, unlike Danny, I do believe Sammy went in fighting. I believe he hit Andrade first.
I just can't picture it.
I mean,
I could totally see a guy who's getting confronted verbally just starting to throw punches.
And not good punches, because obviously the other punch was more violent. However, we got one guy on the show and one guy not on the show. So that puts me on Andrade's side more, because everyone knows Sammy's a dick. He absolutely did this. He went in there like a fucking chihuahua and ran off at his mouth and hit Andrade 10 times, and Andrade took one and just laid him out. So now Andrade's off the show and Sammy's on the show. I don't want Andrade on the show, so I don't care. But I just think Sammy did it. I think Sammy's in the wrong, and I think he should be penalized for it as well.
But all's well that ends well, right? Because Andrade is not on the show, and we don't mind Sammy on the show, so it's
it's fine. It's all good news.
Two things here. One, Danny was actually right. Sally's comment is an episode of Hey Arnold.
There we go. All right,
Danny, bravo, man.
Episode
Bravo.
15, the back half.
So
Honestly,
where's
Danny,
my apology?
Danny's logging off. Danny's like, he's done.
So where's my apology?
No,
You were still wrong. You brought up something that exists somewhere else.
I live in
we
pop
were
culture,
both
James.
right. Because Sally's comment does act as it's a fictional version of Haley's comment that only comes by once every 70 years, according to the Hey Arnold Wikipedia page. But I thought you were trying to say Haley's comment and you just got your white women confused.
He acts. Oh my god.
James, go with it. Don't fight it. Both are comments, whether they're fictional or not. They come around every 70 years.
Holy
I was
crap.
right. It's fine.
And you've probably seen Sally's comment. We've never seen Haley's comment, so
See? Come on, Danny.
The other thing I wanted to say was I think I have defended both Sammy and Andrade more than anybody else on this show, both in the ring and out.
Literally.
Although I guess I haven't really defended Andrade out of the ring too much because he quite frankly hasn't stirred up too much shit. But
he is a baby, though. I agree with Danny on that. He's absolutely an infant.
We've gotten to a point now where, Danny, you were saying Andrade was buying into all of his hype. I think that we were seeing a Sammy Guevara who has completely bought into all of his hype. And I always thought he was a good guy. He always seemed like a decent guy on the vlogs and everything. But obviously, he's really only showing us what he wants you to see. So it's hard to tell. Either way, both of these guys let their ego and their stupidity, assuming this is all true, absolutely get in the way here. And I think it's just another example of Tony Khan continuing to lose control of his locker room.
Agreed.
I don't know, for those of you who haven't seen it, when we went through the whole thing with the Elite and CM Punk, I was very critical of Tony Khan because he just, like I said then, he falls in love with people and he buddies them and he refuses to see the bad in them and refuses to act upon that. And he wants to be everybody's friend and he's not being anybody's boss. And if he's not going to be able to do the latter, then he's got to hire somebody to do it for him and keep all these motherfuckers in line because there's somebody, it seems like every day now, somebody, whether it's on Twitter or in a dirt sheet or in an interview or something, where someone's talking shit about somebody else, they take offense, and it causes another rift in this locker room. And somebody, whether it's Tony or he gets somebody else to do it, needs to lay down the fucking law, get that shit together, and get everything back on track. I don't care why this all started, whether it's Punk, whether it's fucking all the WWE guys and girls coming in, or whatever. You got to get this fucking shit together, or else you're going to end up like WCW in 2000.
I'm not going to lie to you, Nick. I'm a little hot for you right now. That was impressive, sir. Bravo, man.
I've never seen Rev go against AEW.
That was
an didn't watch that episode.
First time for everything, but
it was an honest criticism.
It's absolutely right, and that doesn't excuse Sammy Andrade and all these people thinking they can just do whatever they want now because of it, and also, at least Punk and the Elite were at least punished to some degree, but these idiots still think they can do this shit. Like they're not special. And that's also, I'd like to believe to some degree that, the fact that Sammy was there maybe indicates that that's how we've heard this went down is not how it went down yet, because I think after having to strip your new world champion and your new trios champions the week of them winning the titles, you can send Sammy home and have another match main event and just have Jake Hager team with Jericho.
Or one of 2.0.
Yeah, the fact that this was that he submitted through really makes me think there is a lot more to this. And like we said at some point earlier, we're going to get so much more about this in the oncoming days. We're 50 minutes after the show, and they're less than 50 minutes because it overran for some reason. So like, as I'd like to believe there's more to it. I think they're both stupid in general. Outside of this, this incident aside, I'm not big fans of them as people. Andrade is married into a weird family, and isn't helping with his ego situation. Sammy has changed James's precious tie, whatever, into a worse person. You know, probably.
Why is it me? I feel like Rev was way more on the tie train than I ever was.
I think that was more of a Brazilian.
Well, you're the Brazilian.
That is fair. That is fair. She is shaming my great nation, who is known for never doing anything wrong to anybody else.
I can't think of a single thing. So there's good more we're gonna find out about it. They're both stupid ultimately, but like Rev said, Tony needs to take the reins, and Rev's going to take the reins now and throw us into the beginning of the show. I assume. I'm just reading the vibe of the room, and I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, I do want to end with this from Stephen Uselhausen on Twitter, saying that as confirmed by multiple outlets, Andrade was sent home, but there were a lot of people in the back who were upset that Sammy wasn't sent home and Andrade was. So that's another thing we have to look for now, because we're going to. I don't know if we're going to get another schism in the locker room or what, but as news comes out, and like I said, if we see anything while we are live here, we will get back on it. But as news comes out, we will have more reports for you and more opinions on such. Anyway, let us get into the actual Dynamite. I guess we'll start with the main event, since it does involve Sammy Guevara. He and Chris Jericho face off against Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia. And before the match started, Tony Schiavone asked Ian from Ring of Honor? Riccaboni, thank you. If he had scissored anybody today, since it was National Scissoring Day. Ian responded that he'll be waiting for tomorrow because it's his anniversary.
It was so uncomfortable.
To which Schiavone said, we didn't need to know that. Schiavone had two great scissoring interactions today. The other one was with Taz, which we'll get to later. And he was just so great about it. Anyway, Garcia and Jericho started the match, and Jericho observed the code of honor, and commentary noted that we had seen that throughout the night, which I thought was interesting. As that was going on, there was a big "fuck you, Sammy" chant, as Danny noted earlier, and these went on continually throughout the match, which sucks, but it is what it is. I'm sure that news that we just discussed got through the crowd at some point, and they were unhappy because it broke at about 8:05. So from what I saw. Anyway, after a bunch of back and forth between Sammy and Bryan throughout the picture-in-picture and a bit after, Jericho and Garcia finally stepped into the ring with each other. And after Sammy tried to attack Garcia and just got absolutely rocked, a hockey fight breaks out between the two of them, and Garcia is able to gain the upper hand. Jericho then eventually goes in for the walls. Garcia counters and puts Jericho in the Dragon Tamer, but Sammy breaks it up. And then he takes out Bryan on the outside with a really nice flip over the ropes, which elicits "you still suck" chants from the crowd. Jericho is able to take advantage of this, but Garcia battles back and counters a Lion Tamer. Jericho tags in Sammy, who gets suckered into a choke by Garcia. And then Jericho goes to break it up, but he gets put into a lapel lock by Bryan. And then that goes into stereo hammer and anvil elbows. Jericho rolls out of the ring. Sammy gets put on the top rope by Bryan and Garcia. Sammy then flips out of the double suplex when it's attempted. He hits a spinning roundhouse and a standing Spanish fly, which led to more "you still suck" chants. Then while on the outside, Bryan gets dropped on the title and suplexed through the table by Jericho. On the inside, Sammy hits the GTH, but he gets cocky and goes up top for the shooting star press, but Garcia gets his knees up. Garcia locks in a Dragon Tamer, but he's too close to the ropes, and while Aubrey isn't looking, Jericho hits Garcia with the title.
I'm sorry, did you say why Aubrey isn't looking or is looking? Because
I feel not looking.
She was looking, though.
Well, commentary tried to sell she was looking at Sammy for the tap, and she wasn't looking at Garcia, which they've used before. Everybody uses it. But anyway, Garcia gets decked with the Ring of Honor title, and Sammy gets the pin in the win. In the post-match, the JAS comes out to celebrate. and Jericho looks back at Garcia almost as if he's like disappointed and upset at what happened. Not necessarily at Garcia, just the way things played out. So, Chad, I'll go to you first. Despite the crowd's disappointments in Sammy Guevara, I thought this was very good. The crowd was actually very, very good tonight. They were very into everything, but I enjoyed this match. I thought they told a good story. And everything else aside, I was even still a little disappointed that Sammy picked up the win here, just generally, not because of everything else that happened.
Absolutely. I mean, if we want to be honest, as Danny said earlier, Sammy Guevara is a great talent. At the end of the day, he's always going to be a great talent. He's great in the ring. The match was well. Like, the only issue I have, like you said, is the disappointment of Brian losing every other week as of now. I fucking hate it. It left a sour taste in my mouth. It just pissed me off a little bit. Honestly, it just, at the end of the day, it pissed me off. You cannot have Brian still losing. I'm starting to think that he must be winning the title next week. If not, I don't know. Either way, they can't have him losing every week. But other than that, the match was great. The match was fine.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about because of that Ring of Honor title match he has against Jericho in Toronto next week. We've set this whole thing up where Jericho is doing his best to destroy Ring of Honor as we know it. And I think we mentioned this last week. It would have made a lot more sense if Brian was the final boss in this battle instead of it being the opening contest, for lack of a better phrase. So, I mean, James, I think I got to imagine that Brian's losing next week, which is disappointing because, yeah, as Chad said, he is taking a lot of L's lately. I know he ran to the finals in the title tournament, but he is taking a lot of losses and some high profile ones as well.
Three L's in 1 month is fucking sick. They can't do that to him.
It's funny because I don't want to deal with this other segment till we do, but Moxley's promo that he cut later in the night during another segment really spoke to me and really opened my eyes to something about how Jon Moxley is the undisputed ace of the company, save for one possible name. And we'll talk about that after. But how sad is it that given his booking, Brian can't be put in that conversation? Now, if we're talking work rate, obviously he's there. If we're talking work rate, if we're talking importance to the company, he's there along with a couple of other names. But Bryan Danielson, as presented on TV, he just loses.
Can't win the big one.
And he really can't win the big one. And
it's looking real WWE-ish.
See, but I'll be honest with you. The thing with Brian in WWE that a lot of people, like, it is revisionist history. Brian won a lot in WWE. Like, even before the world title stuff, the man won multiple titles, the US title, the tag titles. He was in a lot of high profile feuds, and he was always the underdog, but he won a lot. Brian here just isn't really winning anything memorable. His best run in the company, one, when he took out all of Dark Order leading to Hangman, and two, the tournament. And both of those series of wins led to nothing. They led to major losses. So it's tough. And I'm mentally preparing that he's going to lose next week because that's just how it goes. That's what I'm trained to believe. They're in Canada. Jericho is defending the title in Canada. I have no reason to think Brian is winning next week, except for the fact that he and Garcia lost this week. So I thought the match was great. I thought Garcia did amazing. I loved the stare down he had with Jericho, and then Sammy tries jumping in and he just wallops him. I love that bit. I love that he caught Sammy into the chokehold. That was great from the Cody cutter. I loved so much of this match. And the reality is this match, I don't even really care that Brian and Garcia lost. The rules of opposite momentum make me believe then that Bryan is supposed to win next week, which is what I'd prefer. I'd rather see Bryan lose a tag match and Bryan wins the Ring of Honor world title. But I just think Bryan's going to eat another loss next week. So I don't know what comes next. I don't know what the point is. I agree. It feels like Bryan should have been the endgame boss of this story. But the reality is, too, Jericho's whole claim of I'm going to dismantle Ring of Honor and blah, blah, everybody that's associated with it, it was a one-night claim and only one night of actual action in regards to that. He took out Bobby Cruise and that was it. So maybe it is just that. Maybe Bryan does stop it before it even gets moving and the train takes off. But I am prepared to have my heart broken yet again.
Yeah, and once again, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what are they, like? I understand Bryan came in, and from everything we've heard, he is more than willing to help put people over. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious with what he just did with Garcia, you know, and is continuing to do, obviously, by working with him, but specifically in the ring. But Jericho doesn't need another win over Bryan, at least not right now. And just they're like almost booking this feud backwards, and I literally can't wrap my head around why they're doing it.
There's a common criticism of AEW that they book major feud ending matches to start off a lot of their feuds.
Yeah.
Like Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Combat Club and Friends literally started with blood and guts. That should be a feud ender that only happens once every few years, if ever.
Wait, wasn't there the other match, so the Anarchy in the Arena match first, and then it was blood and guts?
Did it?
Yeah.
All right, but you know what? You're absolutely right. The Anarchy in the Arena match did happen first.
Yeah. Because technically,
wait.
Technically,
yes, it did. It did because Bryan got injured in that match, and then Claudio took his spot. But regardless, Anarchy in the Arena is another huge match type. It's silly, but in a lot of the best ways.
It was amazing.
But they just have a fucking wrestling match. Build to the bigger stuff. But now we're at a point where Jericho's beaten Bryan multiple times. And even if Bryan wins, it's not going to feel like the moment it should.
Yeah, it's yeah, and I'll agree with that too, because before everything came out earlier, I was gonna rail against this Andrade versus 10 match because it was Mask versus Leave AEW, and I was like, you're gonna do this no build on a Rampage out of nowhere, like it's a Mask match, like the fuck versus loser leaves town, like it made no sense. But no, it's not happening, so I don't have to rail about it as much. But I agree.
But we were this close.
I know, but like the booking just occasionally, a lot of the times is just back ass words, and it just doesn't make sense.
Back ass words.
Sorry, I got a little off the rails there. Danny, I think you agree with us about all this Bryan stuff, but what did you think about this match?
Oh, I don't give a fuck about the match. It was fine. It's dumb that Garcia got pinned, and it's dumb that he got pinned by Sammy. And that's that's all I have to say about that. The crowd getting behind Garcia, it took him a long time because they were too busy chanting "fuck you, Sammy." But
he did get some chance.
I will admit the "you still suck" chant, always a hit. I've never been upset about a "you still suck" chant. It's never come at a bad time, so that's great. But as far as the Bryan stuff goes, I second everything you guys said about him not losing. I champion that notion, actually. But I'm going to be optimistic here. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, actually. Bryan's not going to lose next week. He's not going to win the title. But he's not going to lose. He is going to win via disqualification because Jericho is the best sports entertainer in the world, and he is going to get himself disqualified to retain his title, and then he'll go on beating all the former champions. Jay Lethal's a former ROH champion, right? I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, he's turning face. He's turning face specifically for this role of losing to Jericho 4 weeks from now, guaranteed.
Joe.
Bryan will be the guy to take the title off Jericho 2-3 months from now. He's gonna lose. He's gonna win via DQ next week. because Jericho is a sports entertainer. And what is more sports entertaining than a DQ finish? I know what the answer is, distraction finish, but AEW does that all the time. So, that's not going to be shocking like a DQ is going to be. And there we go. That's what's going to happen.
That's his locked pick of the week.
I love that. And because AEW uses disqualification so minimally, I can only think of two off the top of my head. It was MJF versus the Captain Shawn Dean, and the Pretty Peter Avalon versus Cutler match. And I think there might be one more ever. So
yeah, in the 2 out of 3 falls match between Pac and Omega.
There you go.
One of the falls was a DQ.
Yeah.
And even then, it didn't lead to the end of a match.
Exactly. So they use them so minimally. And Jericho using this to retain the Ring of Honor championship, the honor with prestige and honor. It would be brilliant because it's just corrupting everything that title is. I love that, actually, because then it gets Brian out of this picture, and then he gets in the back of the line and he becomes final boss again when he has to save Ring of Honor from Jericho.
So
Jericho runs through everybody.
Here's the thing, though, and I don't know if AEW is going to keep, or Tony Khan is going to keep this going. In Ring of Honor, you could lose the title by DQ, I think.
Really?
I think.
Okay, but
in pure rules, I would.
It's entertaining than pretending that previous rules don't exist anymore. And Hell in a Cell ended via ref stoppage, so what the fuck does anything matter anymore? Yeah.
Fair.
I still thought that was logical. It just ended up being really stupid. Yeah, I like it. I really do like it. And James, even if that was a rule, Tony can oh, we ignored it, or oh, we didn't bring it over, or oh, the referees didn't know that, and I'm not gonna.
It could also just be straight up wrong. I gotta double check.
So we'll do some fact checking on that, and James will do some fact checking on that, and we're gonna move on to the first match of the night, which was MJF versus Wheeler Yuta, which I absolutely loved. I thought right from the top, I thought Wheeler was going to get one of the best matches out of MJF that he's had in AEW, and I think from a purely wrestling standpoint, I think he kind of did. This match was great. Big Yuta chance to start the match. This was also MJF's first match in 129 days, plus it's Yom Kippur. So the man's been fasting, which is a lot. I'm surprised. I'm honestly, I don't know how religious he is. I know a lot of people take off today. So I was a little surprised he was wrestling, even though it was after sunset, but I don't really know how that works. I'm not Jewish. Anyway, MJF hit a wicked power bomb backbreaker on Yuta, which just looks so cool. Yuta ended up kicking out. There was any great sequence of roll-up attempts and counters to these roll-up attempts. They did the whole everybody rolls in a circle for one bit. They were going back and forth, with all these sorts of pinning predicaments, but they got out of all of them. That led into some tombstone attempts, which they kept reversing on each other, which then led into some more pinning predicament attempts that they kept countering until finally MJF was able to get Yuta down for a 2 count, and Yuta had a kick. And then that led to a double clothesline, and they were both down for almost the entire 10 count. It was a great sequence, got a standing ovation. I loved it. Now, MJF had been taking a page out of Orange Cassidy's playbook the entire night. And anytime Yuta went to the top rope, MJF just rolled to the other side of the ring. So finally, Yuta was able to get the upper hand, had MJF down, and he went again to the top rope. MJF rolled about 3/4 of the way across the ring and flipped Yuta off. And Yuta told him to go fuck himself and hit a diving splash all the way on the other side of the ring. 1-2 kick out, but Yuta came up clutching his arm. MJF was able to capitalize, gets Yuta in the salt of the earth, and right as he's about to get to the ropes, MJF pulls him back over, locks it in an even more vicious fashion, and Yuta is forced to tap out. Post-match, Yuta wants MJF to shake his hand. MJF seems like he's about to, and then Lee Moriarty of the Firm comes in and blindsides Yuta from behind. MJF is really pissed, yelling at Moriarty, "Why did you do that? I didn't tell you guys to do this. What the fuck?" And Stokely comes out and is like, "No, you have to do this. What are you talking about? We're doing this," and hands MJF the Dynamite Diamond ring. MJF puts it on and he's lining Yuta up. But Regal gets up from commentary, slips on the brass knuckles because the man always stays strapped, comes down to the ring, has a stare down with MJF, and MJF wants no part of that. So he leaves. So, James, like I said, I loved this match. It was great. I think, it showed off how good of a technical wrestler MJF can actually be, something I feel like we haven't seen in a really long time, not just because he hasn't been around for 129 days wrestling, but because I feel like his last few feuds were more character driven than wrestling driven. But this was great, and I love seeing Regal break out the brass knuckles again. That was fantastic.
I loved every bit of this. Like, I love the nostalgia hit of the brass knuckles. I love the match between these two. I love the drama that came afterwards. I think if you're not on the Wheeler Yuta train at this point, I don't think you're ever going to be. I think that moment.
Excuse me.
I think that.
Oh, it's still coming back.
I think that moment with the frog splash 3/4 across the ring, it's not even that the physical act was that impressive, because we've seen guys go further. We've seen guys go higher. It was the fact that he said, "I'm not going to let you stop me." I love that. That was such a great character moment. And it's the type of thing that when we talk about Wheeler Yuta in 5 years, or when we talk about Wheeler Yuta in the future, we're going to reference that moment as, oh, you remember that? How cool that was?
It was a great fuck you to MJF.
It really was. It really was. So I'm continuously being impressed by Yuta. I think MJF is the perfect guy to do that bit with, and he's the perfect guy to make Wheeler look better in the process with it. So really loved the match, loved how everything came about, and man, I don't care if they turn MJF a babyface. I'm still gonna boo him. I'm still gonna fucking boo him.
I was gonna wait on that, but we did see a little bit of a hint of a babyface turn when he was going to shake Wheeler's hand, and obviously they have a long history together on both the independent circuit. On the independent circuit. So
not even just the shaking of the hand thing. It's also he was upset that somebody got involved and attacked him.
Yep.
So
without his knowledge.
But
that was Stokely's call. It wasn't his.
Of course. But again, the fact that he was upset indicates that's not something that made him happy. And he's had people interfere on his behalf before, even if he didn't want to. Oh boy, what did I do, Danny? I did something bad.
That was just a great sentence you said there.
Wait, what did I say?
The fact that he's upset means that he's not happy.
No. Well, all right, very true. Very true. Yeah, he's not happy that someone went against him. That's what I meant to say. But you're absolutely right. I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Yeah, Dynamite was 15 minutes longer than normal, and it just wiped James out.
It really did.
No, yeah, you're right. I do think it's very interesting, something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, because he was, when he came back, getting some babyface reactions, and then they turned a corner and they pushed him all the way heel, and he got a few chants in this match. There was a bit of a Wheeler Yuta MJF dueling chant, but I think majority of the cheers throughout it were for Yuta. So he still, he was getting booed a lot. Like I said, this DC crowd came to play, but I think for now he's still heel, especially holding that chip.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard, but there's still that little bit of a, hey, maybe MJF isn't as much of a dick as we think he is. So who knows? Danny, did you enjoy this as much as we did, or you more on Eric's side?
Do you remember that episode of Doug where there was a problem at the ice cream factory and they kept saying you got to just let the chips hit the fan? That has nothing to do with this, but anyway, the match was great. I didn't love it as much as you guys, but I didn't dislike it. But I just care way more about all the post-match stuff. The character being shown from MJF, the uncertainty in his face, the fact that he didn't necessarily want to do it. I love that he leaned in enough to make it seem like he was going to shake his hand. I love the fact that he didn't pull away But you clearly see what's his name come, Lee Moriarty, right? Was the one that jumped him.
Yes.
Yeah, you could see MJF see him coming, so it almost like bailed him out of the situation. Like, I don't have to make this decision. It is now beyond that. Him getting annoyed is fine. I think it's really lame that it's people like Lee Moriarty and Stogie. What's his name?
Stokely.
Sure.
Don't humor him, Nick. He knows what he's doing.
They made this feel lesser, especially because they're a thrown together faction that was just thrown together recently and thrown together by MJF apparently. But they seem to already have turmoil, and him to be kind of moving on from them makes them feel even lesser than they already are. So I didn't like them being in there, even though I liked the story that came from it. But match was good. Wheeler's a loser now. I mean, he's always been a loser except for like that 4-week run where he was winning matches, but now he's right back to not winning matches. But good stuff. Not something I expected to see this week, so I'm interested to see where it goes next week.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry, I got distracted. All my notes got fucked up, and I'm trying to fix them. So I'm just gonna throw it right to Chad. Chad, what'd you think of both the match and everything, all this subtle character work from MJF afterward?
I think everything was perfect. It was aligned perfectly. It was super refreshing to see MJF back in the ring. I think the match was fucking awesome. I'm back on Yuta's side. He was boring me for the last couple weeks, and this feud has shown that I just would like to see him wrestle all the time. Like, I like seeing him wrestle, period. Honestly, it was poetry in motion. Don't drink and drive.
We saw one of those later in the night.
Sorry, James.
Hey, I was saving that for later, but it's a good message to say more than once.
For the first time in AEW history, Stokely did not piss me entirely the fuck off. So kudos to that. That's enough for me to like the whole opening segment. It works because I can't stand this guy in AEW, but tonight, for some reason, it was kind of entertaining, and I'm fine with it.
That's fair. And I'll take your opinion more than my own on that one, because I don't get this guy at all, but like, this tonight was an example of why he doesn't work, because he felt so puny being out there. Like, how dare this guy tell anyone what to do, let alone be involved with the biggest stars in the company and Kaz XL.
I mean,
hey, he's literally the biggest guy in the company.
Yeah. That's why he has XL in his name.
All right. Yeah, I like I said, I'm sorry, I'm a little thrown, but let's just move on just so I can get back on track here. We had a video package hyping up the main event, detailing everything that's happened with the Garcia, with Brian, with the JAS and the Ring of Honor titles. And then we went to a backstage interview with the JAS. It was 2.0, Hager, Sammy, and Jericho. 2.0 is very upset. Not only that Garcia has left them and has denied all of the great things that Jericho has done from them, but he also declined Jericho's wonderful gift of that hat, that beautiful bucket hat that Jake Hager apparently very much likes. And honestly, James, I know you don't love Hager. He had one line, he stood in the back, he was funny, and that's all we need him to do, right?
I completely agree. Hager fits that role perfectly, of the silent heavy who gets that one weird, funny bit out every time they give it to him. But you don't give a guy like that the contract he has. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I must concur.
After Jericho talked a bunch of shit about beating Garcia and continuing the Ring of Jericho era when he beats Bryan next week, Sammy had one line and got booed mercilessly, as we saw that would come back much stronger later. After that, we had Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal. Lethal had said last week that he would leave Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh backstage for the match. Sure, buddy. Lethal spent most of the match working over Darby's leg, trying to set up for the figure four. He eventually does get it, but Darby is able to break free. Lethal then goes for a lethal injection, but Darby counters it really nice with like a back roll and puts Lethal on the floor. Then Darby's able to hit a code red, but Lethal kicks out. Darby goes up to the top rope, but then he notices that Dutt and Singh have come onto the stage, so he gets distracted. Lethal takes advantage and knocks him off the top rope. Then Lethal get the upper hands, but Darby is able to go for a roll-up, and we had another series of roll-up counters, which again were really, really cool, until Darby is able to lock in the Last Supper, and he ends up getting the 3 count for the win. After the match, Darby demands that Lethal shakes his hand, saying that he's one of the best, and goads Lethal to the point of shoving him until Lethal, I used the word angrily in my notes. He shook his hand. It seems like aggressively, I think is the better word, because Darby definitely got aggressive with him and trying to get and getting to do so but it was much to the chagrin of Dutt and Singh. So Chad, another just solid match here. Nothing crazy, but I enjoyed it, and I think Danny alluded to this earlier. We might be seeing a bit of a face turn from Jay Lethal.
This, I think, was, I won't say perfect, but almost perfect for a second match and segment, because fucking finally, Darby Allin has won a match. it is what it is.
Praise me. And against somebody good too.
Right. Darby finally fucking won a match. I think we've all said that we enjoy seeing Jay Lethal on our television. So it was a great match. We knew it was going to be a great match. That the segment after, aggressive and chaotic, I fucking loved it to death. I'm super cool with seeing Jay Lethal in another light as a face, possibly later. It just, everything here worked for me. And put Darby on the screen more. Winning on the screen more.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the important distinction there.
Winning.
I would say we get Darby on the screen, but he just kind of sometimes flipping tricycles for Nitro Circus.
It's hard to see how this guy is still alive, but thank God.
I was going to say, the mere mention of Nitro Circus popped Danny there a bit. So, Danny, like Chad said, really good to see Darby win. And I think you're right. I think turning Lethal face here, I keep doing that. Turning Lethal face here would potentially set him up for a match for Jericho, against Jericho for the Ring of Honor title in the near future.
What the hell's Nitro Circus? I was reacting. I got robbed. I got a fucking critical hit on my Incineroar. It's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway.
What are you playing?
I'm playing Pokemon Sword. I'm battling online right now against real people.
I thought you were playing Pokemon Showdown.
Bad idea. No, that would slow. I'd probably slow down my computer.
I would imagine so. Showdown needs a lot.
Time. But yeah.
You guys are a priority here at the Market Down podcast. I promise there's nothing more important than entertaining you guys, our fellow marks.
That rap is coming, man. Anyway, yeah, like I said earlier, I think I'm right. I think that's what's going to happen with Jay Lethal. I agree with Chad about Darby being on TV. His entrance just felt like nice. Just he comes out and it's like, oh yeah, you're a star in this company. You still get star reactions.
Like that jacket.
Yeah. That was a nice touch. Part of me was like, is it not Darby under there for a second?
I thought so too, and then I saw the tattoo on his chest. Like, no, that's
exactly, not. Yeah. But it's nice. I still wish it would come out with the skateboard still. Like, I hate that it's not all the time.
With a tux. Like we used to wear the suit.
That was like peak Darby.
Yeah.
It's because they just got to make the ramps conducive to skating down, which I think we are right now. So there's no reason. There was no 2 steps this time, right?
Yeah. It was short one, but I think it went right up to the edge of the ring, if I remember correctly.
You ride down and then jump onto the ropes and flip over. It works.
And land back on the skateboard. Yeah. Tony Hawk's Underground 2 style.
Yeah. Everything works out. But the match was good. As good as the Lethal stuff is, he's one of those guys that in AEW, it's just hasn't been it. But if he's going to do something exciting, this would be the time and this would be it. So we'll see how it goes. I don't have anything to hit this Victini. This fucking sucks. God damn it. But yeah, fine match. Whatever. Again, it's all about the post match with this one. But I also don't like that this is it was too similar to what just happened. And if you can't possibly ask me to care, even a fraction as much about this as I would about MJF. And I know you said earlier it tied into like the main event with all the handshakes going on throughout the night. But out of all the handshakes, this was the least important handshake, which, we are a handshake pod. We do rate handshakes all the time, but like, yeah, this is clearly the weakest one, right?
Well, I mean, it was, National Scissoring Day, so regular handshakes were just a step below everything anyway.
It's true.
Great point.
That's a great point.
James, what are your thoughts on this?
Jay Lethal's just gonna lose, man. Who cares? I will also say I like the Jay Lethal Sanjay Dutt pairing. They never gave them anything valuable. Like they never got a win as a unit. I also think Singh offered really nothing to that group. So I would have rather seen, like, I get him being stuck with Dutt because Dutt could be his mouthpiece, and Jay Lethal does not need a mouthpiece. Jay Lethal is a great promo. Jay Lethal is responsible for some of the funniest and most memorable promos of like the two. Yeah, exactly. So I get that move, but it does suck because I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential there. But good match. And is that Darby's finish now? Other than the coffin drop, because he wins a lot of matches with that pin.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of like,
it is like a secondary finisher.
Yeah, he was using that for a while.
Yeah.
Instead of having a submission finisher to pull out, he has a roll up.
I like it. It's just it's different. It's weird. It's rare.
Cassidy has one too. It's pretty common in AEW.
Wheeler's got the seatbelt. Yeah. Wheeler's got the seatbelt. He tried it tonight against MJF, but he couldn't lock it in. But he's won matches with it. Wheeler has. So I do like these unique pinning combinations that are incredibly difficult to kick out of. It adds in different elements to winning a match that I don't think we really see in other places. So that's really cool.
Sure.
All right. After that, we had James's big meaty men slapping meat match. Wardlow versus Brian Cage for the TNT Championship match. Before this match, we had a promo package from the Embassy, led by Prince Nana, who, James, I believe you were saying is a Ring of Honor mainstay. Like he's a real old school Ring of Honor guy.
Oh, yeah.
The other two members of the Embassy are the Gates of Agony, who are an undefeated Ring of Honor tag team. Now, I haven't seen any of these people before. They probably were on maybe a Rampage or a Dark or two as they're continuing to build up the Ring of Honor roster. But I wasn't unaware of them outside of Cage, of course. But I thought the promo and this entire segment actually did a decent job of introducing them. But let's get to the rest of the segment. The match starts with Wardlow and Brian Cage having a battle of strength, but nobody's able to gain the upper hand. Wardlow then hits a tiaras, and then Cage follows up with one of his own, and Wardlow goes into the ropes. Cage goes for what is a 619. I don't know what fucking Excalibur calls it. But Wardlow catches him and hits a power slam. Cage gets back up, and I think he hit a power bomb, and we go into commercial. We come back to Wardlow hitting a fucking whisper in the wind on Cage. So I think that was my favorite part of this match before I even get to the end of it, was these dudes, this wasn't just a Hoss match. This was a Hoss match with guys doing flippy shit, which is unheard of 40 years ago or even 20 years ago. It was awesome. Anyway, Cage suplexed Wardlow from the apron over the top rope. Wardlow kicks out. Cage kicked out of a pop-up power bomb. Wardlow kicked out of what was essentially an F5. But Cage finally gains the upper hand, and he's setting up for the drill claw, but he taunts too long. Wardlow hits a headbutt. Cage tries to go into a rolling elbow. Wardlow hits another headbutt, and then he hits the wind-up lariat to take Cage down. Wardlow then hits 4 movements of the Powerbomb Symphony and retains his title. After the match, the rest of the Embassy, meaning the Gates of Agony, they come out for the beatdown on Wardlow. Samoa Joe comes out for the save, but it's essentially a 3-on-2 assault. They said 4-on-2 with the Prince there, but he wasn't doing much more than directing traffic. But then FTR comes out, and the Embassy clears the ring, and there's a big stare down between the undefeated Gates of Agony and FTR. So, James, A, big medium men slapping me match. This was awesome. B, I think we set up a lot of stuff here because we continue to have Wardlow be champ. I think we could possibly see now Brian Cage versus Samoa Joe for the TV title. And we're definitely going to get FTR versus the Gates of Agony for those Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships.
Yes, absolutely. I like this. This accomplished a lot, like you said, set up a lot. I'm always going to pop for the Embassy. I'm always going to pop for Prince Nana, just being a Ring of Honor diehard like I am. Cage showing up after it's been more than a year since his last televised singles match. So this was crazy to see him again. This was the type of match that I think could have been a pay-per-view match, but they gave it away for free on TV, and I'm not necessarily complaining. It would have been nice to have a little bit of build-up, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it was a big Dynamite, so I don't mind this being on TV, but I agree. It's another one of those matches where, you give it a week or two, it would have been really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't say I've ever been that high on Cage, or I care that much about Cage. But I'd be lying to say if I didn't recognize the talent that he has and what he does bring to the table. But Wardlow winning is good. I think we could all agree Wardlow's been in a holding pattern for a while now. He's been really stuck for a while now. So if at the very least we're going to get good, entertaining matches out of him, I'm not going to complain. At least it's something. Joe being back on TV and being so prominently featured again is really cool. And hey, Tony Khan remembered that that FTR works for him. So that's great to see that they were on TV. I'll be honest, I'm at a point where I want FTR to lose all those belts simply because I want them to be actually able to go for the AEW tag titles. And I think Tony can't do that while they have all the titles. So, yeah, the sooner they can maybe drop these Ring of Honor tag titles or the IWGP tag titles, who the hell cares about the AAA tag titles anymore? I think the better.
I will say there have been a lot of rumors that FTR has been hurt, and that's why we haven't seen a lot of them. No one's really sure. They're playing that pretty close to the vest.
They're homages to 80s wrestlers. Just wrestle hurt. Come on.
Yeah, so either way, I'm not sure, but it was good to see them. It's always good, obviously, to see Samoa Joe. And I gotta agree with you on Cage. I think he's not a top guy, but he plays a great role in the company, especially for something like this to help put over a guy, especially another big dude like Wardlow, who needs to continue to rack up big wins with this TNT Championship. So I love this match, not only just because I enjoyed the match, Chad, but I liked even despite what we said about it not having a great build, I like the reasons it happened and the way it played out afterwards.
I think the Brian Cage guy is in the same boat as the guy with the braids. I can't think of his name.
Lance Archer?
Him.
Yeah, similar mold.
I don't care about either of them.
He doesn't care about Joe.
I'm just super indifferent. The match was good though, but the only Cage I acknowledge is Christian. It was a good match, I guess. I'm glad Wardlow's doing singles matches again because he has a title and he should defend that title once in a while or something. So that was refreshing. Other than that, I've got nothing.
Yeah, I do like the return of, because it went away from a little while, even not just generally, but with Wardlow. I like the almost weekly matches for the title with the TNT title, like when Cody was doing it.
Yep.
I think Darby did it quite often too. There was a lot of people who pretty much defended that title almost every week. Hell, even Sammy, when he had it, was defending that title more often than not until he got sucked back into the Cody verse. And ever since then, we've talked about this a lot. It kind of went by the wayside, and for the most part, Wardlow has been defending on a weekly basis until there was that little mini feud with Lethal and Dutt, and they ended up facing the Motor City Machine Guns with FTR. So I know that was to set up for the whole pay-per-view, but it's nice to see them hopefully going back to Wardlow defending the title on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. Right. Because I think that's what the title is. That's the workhorse title. You get that title, you got to be working almost every week. You got to be defending it almost every week. And that's what makes the title cool. If you can do that while still building a feud which eventually blows off either at a big Dynamite or a pay-per-view, I think that would be the ideal scenario. But let's let Tony walk before he can run. Danny, did you end up pulling that battle out, or
that battle? Yeah, I'm in another battle now. I tried to stall out my opponent's Dynamax, and now I'm going for my own Dynamax like 5 turns into the game, which is pretty late.
Ooh, it's such a shitty gimmick.
That's a little early.
Man, you sound so uneducated there, bro. Oh my god. It's actually better than Z moves, and in my opinion, it's better competitively than Mega Evolution, which all look pretty dumb. But anyway,
speaking of Dynamaxing, Wardlow and Brian Cage, huh?
There you go. Look at that. Oh my god. What a great farewell match for Brian Cage. What a great way to send him off into the distance. Which
into Ring of Honor.
I assume this was his retirement match. It was like because he was just on the TV randomly. He got more TV time than he's gotten in like over a year. And then he put someone over on his way out, like Andrade was supposed to do on Friday, but he couldn't even wait that fucking long, little bitch. But good for Cage. Way to go out,
little bitch.
Way to go out on top, buddy. All good here. And that's all I have to say about that.
No, but okay. That wasn't his retirement match. I will say this. I wrote this specifically. It was at this point in the episode of Dynamite that I realized Tony Khan basically for the night is just basically doing a Ring of Honor proof of concept. Yeah. So Discovery can stop dragging their feet and give him a show. If you look at it, between all the handshakes, the amount of Ring of Honor people involved, the title, all the titles involved, the way everything just played out tonight felt like the way Tony wants to run Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? That's basically what this felt like. Did anybody else feel that way, or is it just me?
I agree. All the word on the street is that they are very actively trying to pursue a Ring of Honor TV show. The rumor is Warner Brothers Discovery may be a reason why it hasn't happened, because they're going through all the turnaround that they're going through. And again, that's conjecture. We don't know for certain. But according to Tony Khan in interviews that came out today, they're very happy with Ring of Honor's pay-per-view buy rates. Like Warner Brothers Discovery is very happy with it. So I think he's just trying to build up as best a case as possible. And granted, next week, Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor title is a hell of a case for a Ring of Honor TV show. But maybe save that match for the TV show. I don't know. What do I know?
Unless what Danny said happens, because then I think you can really build that out and then have Jericho versus Bryan at the pay-per-view before the TV show starts.
Also, to answer your question, what do you know? Clearly not much, because you took the freaking basic ass rhetoric you've heard online about Dynamax and being bad.
I just prefer Mega Evolutions. I'm sad that they're gone.
They had 2 generations of,
and they just stopped. You just stop being able to do something. That's crazy.
There was one good Mega Evolution, and it's Kangaskhan, because it's a perfect.
It was adorable. It was adorable.
Lucario, no.
No, it just got like, it looked like it went on an island vacation as a Mega Evolution.
It's also bullshit that the Mega Slowbro wasn't amazing.
Yeah, that should have been better. But I get it. Oh, it's just big Pokemon. Big Pokemon are great. Every Pokemon's usable under Dynamax. Get with the program. John knows the deal.
Whatever.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. We came back to a Dr. Britt Baker DMD backstage promo from earlier tonight, where she announced that Saraya has not been cleared by doctors, which we don't know if that's true, and that she should be wrapped in bubble wrap and shipped off, making it the doctor's house. This then led into Jamie Hayter, Serena Deeb, and Penelope Ford with the aforementioned Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rebel versus Willow Nightingale, Athena, and Tony Storm, who came out with Saraya. And hey, look, the women got the top of the hour time slot. Good for them. They actually got a good time slot. Congratulations, Tony Khan. You did a positive thing. because
kind of
Paige showed up.
I was gonna say kind of crazy now that Saraya's there. They're getting.
It's not crazy at all. It makes perfect sense. Why would you even sigh in frustration about it? Why?
No, it makes sense. It's annoying that it took her coming for Tony to give a shit about the women's division. But if it's gonna get eyes on the women's division, you got to take what you can, I guess, at this point with that. So no, Jamie Hayter continues to get huge pops to the point where Shivani even acknowledged it on commentary. Deeb also very over too in this match. There were a lot of Deeb chants. She got one as she tagged in. There was a couple of them throughout the match. So good for both of them, man. That's awesome. Tony Storm was doing a very good job running things against Deeb until Hayter stepped into the ring to break up a pin. Tony took her and Penelope Ford out, but then Deeb hit a chop block to turn the momentum going into commercial. Coming back out of it, Deeb and Hayter hit stereo suplexes as Deeb had Tony Storm's legs locked up, which got a huge applause because, like I just said, the two of them were very over tonight.
Yep.
A bit later, Rebel pulled a crutch out from under the ring, but Saraya took it from her to prevent her from hitting, I think it was Willow, and then chased off Rebel and Britt. This led into a series of big moves from all the competitors in the match until eventually Penelope pulled a Matrix move to dodge Willow Nightingale. And Penelope almost fell trying to get back up, but she was able to immediately audible into a gorgeous cutter, which made it really look honestly cooler. And she should probably use that in general. Like, I don't know if it was an accident. I feel like it was, because I feel like she was actually trying to get back up, but it looked awesome. Stick with it. Anyway, Willow was able to kick out of that. She was recovered, hits a doctor bomb, and was able to get the pin and the win for her team. After the match, Britt gets into Saraya's face. Saraya decked her. All hell breaks loose. And then Saraya stands tall. Ooh, excuse me. Voice isn't all the way back. Saraya stands tall in the ring after delivering a kick to Rebel. So we still don't 100% know if Saraya is allowed to do shit, but it looks like she is, Danny.
I mean, I think that's as good of, a declaration on the subject as any. First of all, it's fucking awesome.
She didn't take a bump though. I do want to point that out. She threw some punches and
I don't think they would do that. They wouldn't let her throw punches and get physical in that way and save the bumps for the match. There's two ways of going about it. There's the way they did it of her just getting physical, or there's the Dan O'Brien way where you go way over the top and have him get fucking murdered on his first night back. And again, that was already announced that he would return. So I think this was the best way to go about it, especially after having Britt set up. Now, that being said, we have this friend, right? His name is Eric. We talk about him way too much on the show considering he's never here. But he put pretty well that all they had to do was have Britt come out, cut a promo about it, and then just have Saraya interrupt and and that's all it would have taken. And I agree, that would have been better. This match genuinely didn't need to happen, but a women's match should happen on the show. They could have been two separate things though. But so that's great. I don't really have much to say about the match. It's cool that Willow got the win as the over jobber, in the match, getting a win. But it's really dumb that she's getting a TBS title match off of this and not an interim title match off of this. Either way, her getting a title match is silly, but you might why not do it with the person she teamed with? Because you'd be like, hey, I won that match. You didn't win that match. And then boom, that's just a 1 week program right there. There you go. When we've already seen Jade squash this girl before. So why is she getting a TBS? That is.
But can she do it a third time, Danny?
Yes. That joke. Yes, she can. But Saraya is back. That is a huge positive. That is the best thing to happen in this women's division. I know we say this all. We're always here. First it was Ruby, but you know what? We deep down in our guts, we knew what was going to happen with Ruby. We just didn't want it to happen, but we all kind of felt it to some degree, whether we were admitting it at the time or not. Saraya is different. She's getting paid a shit ton of money. and she pulled a number. You know what? I don't think any video with Ruby in it has gotten over 1 million views on YouTube. I have no proof of that. I'm just assuming. Saraya's debut is like 1.6 million views. So she's already proven a draw, especially for the women's division alone. You put her against your biggest star, Britt. It makes perfect sense on paper. And let's not undercut the fact that this is amazing that she has returned after career-ending injuries, which, aren't a real thing anymore, I guess, because none of them have been career-ending in the past decade. So, but it's fantastic, and we're not giving her the same, emotional support or ovation as we've given Edge or Bryan, despite the fact that her retirement was just as emotional as at least Bryan's in terms of the segments, at least. But Edge's like retirement is like the status overall because of how out of nowhere it came. Well, so did Saraya's, but Bryan's really wasn't out of nowhere. That was years compiling up.
Yeah.
But it is around that level, and her coming back seemed the least likely because we always knew Bryan was going to come back because he never wanted to retire.
Yeah.
He was literally trying to get himself fired.
Edge's is only surprising because he like moved on and had like a steady acting job. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come back.
My neck feels better today.
Yeah. Like, I had a good stretch this morning. I think I'll have a ladder match.
Oh, I finally cracked it right. I'm good to go, babe. We're going back. Let's call Vince.
Let's go. Call up Vince and get Kevin Dunn ready to miss my first spear. Let's do it. But this is a big deal. I am thrilled. I am an admitted mark for Paige, or Saraya, if you will. She used to come out to Faint by Lincoln Park on the Indies. So, I don't know what else I have to say about that, but I think this is awesome. I think it's a big deal. And I think we're already seeing some positive implications for the women's division. Even though these segments haven't been that good, I have the utmost faith that we're going to get a decent match from Paige and Britt, and that Paige is going to genuinely make a difference. And I'm going to say right now, even though we've had a rough going with putting titles on the ex-WWE people who have recently come in, put the title on Saraya. There's no one else. You have 2 stars in that division. I love Toni Storm. She is a good tier below those two. And Hayter is great. She is over. It's fantastic. It's good to see. But once she splits from Britt, I guarantee nothing else ever happens again. And it dwindles out and nothing comes of it. It will be no fault of her own. She will still be great in that time, but it'll be like a worse version of Wardlow. Way worse because they're not going to give it the same amount of time. But it's similar to Wardlow in that it's taken forever, but it's dissimilar to Wardlow because they keep planting the same seed and never following up on it, whereas Wardlow, they at least slowly escalated things. So yeah, overall, nothing match, but fun. You could have had some fun with it. And I'm just, Saraya's back, and let's make a bigger deal about that. And I don't care. Chad's going to spew some nonsense about her, probably. Don't listen to him. James can't let go of the fact that she has shitty taste in men. Like, okay, like, cool. Let it go.
We've done enough outside the ring shit tonight. Yeah, come on.
Let's move on to the next part of the show. Actually, let's just push it forward. What happened after this? Let them know.
I was gonna say, I think with Hayter, it really depends on how they play it, because it could go the way
they're not gonna play it in a satisfying way. Let's be realistic. They're not gonna save the women's division that much.
I know, which sucks. Realistic. God, I wish they honestly just give them Rampage at this point. I don't even care. Chad, would you like to spew some shit about Saraya?
Sure. The match was fine. Everything's fine. I mean,
all right, there we go.
I could shit on her, and I could not. I am ecstatic that she's back. I'm really happy that she's back. I don't want my next statement to make it seem like I'm not excited that she's back.
Oh, here we go. They'll make it.
You
They're
said
ready to
next. I thought you said next statement. I was like, bro.
Stack of dimes. Anywho, I am ecstatic that she's back and healthy and, you know, in this capacity.
End of sentence. Cool. Let's move on.
Pero.
Period.
He's like, please move on.
Period. Next statement. This shit is not working for me. That's all. I'm sorry. It's mid at best. The segments are boo-boo. She looks like kind of strong, but not fully strong. I don't know. We don't know if she's competing or not. It's not working for me. But I'm glad she's back. Take it away, James.
Well, wait, I would like to actually follow up on this because I'm just trying to figure out like what you thought the match was okay. You just like not liking the post match stuff and
yes, I thought the match was fine. The match was okay. I'm cool with that. New girl won or somebody who we don't see often win.
At least not on Dynamite, yes.
Right, not on Dynamite. The slot was perfect. It wasn't a bathroom break match. It was fine. I love Deeb. She got her shit off. I like Hater enough. She got her shit off. It was the after. It was just a little muddled, a little sloppy.
That's fair.
I feel like the match.
I knew you were going to rebut
made this muddled. The match did not need to be there. I already explained it earlier. Like the setup of Britt saying, "Well, I'm a doctor. She's not cleared to wrestle," makes sense. And then Saraya deciding to show that that's bullshit by getting physical with Britt. That's perfect sense. Having the match in between it is what made no sense. All you had to do was take away the match and put these two things together, and it's a perfect segment. In terms of that,
you could have done it on the stage. You literally could have done it on the stage where Britt says all that shit. Soraya walks out and
but the match could be separate. The match shouldn't have been involved with it. The match
that would have been fine.
Yeah, but then we would have gone over our quota of 2 women's matches per night or 2 women's. I know,
and that's the thing. I'm not disputing that. I understand those are the rules. Okay,
because Will got the second one and we couldn't have a third one. Come on.
But that match could have been on Rampage. Like.
I don't think Saraya is being handled as best as she can. I will say it like that to be politically correct.
Which I think is fair because I feel like most of the women's division hasn't been. They fucking it up.
Not politically correct version of that. There is there.
I think the word was more delicate than politically correct. James, would you like to hop in here?
I love Lamp. I love Lamp.
Do you actually love the lamp, or are you just saying that because you're looking at the lamp?
I love Lamp. I think you could just tweak it and it would still work. I think have what Britt said prior to the match, have her say it in the ring after the match. But it's still like the match should still happen and be a part of it. Like Britt's out there because of Hater and Reba, not Rebel. So let her just still do her thing, but cut that promo in the ring and then Paige just decks her. I think that's literally the only change that I would have made. And I don't want Paige to beat Toni Storm simply because I don't need Paige to be the interim champion.
At least not yet. Well,
I mean, if you're going to put the title on her,
I assume Rosa comes back by Full Gear. Tony becomes the official champ, and then just put it on Saraya, like Revolution and have
I misinterpreted what James meant. Yeah, she doesn't need to be interim champion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Wait
forgot about Thunder Rosa, honestly, for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think we all kind of did.
We all.
I didn't, but we have all the whatever beef there is between Tony and Thunder when she comes back, whether that's kayfabe or not. But we can talk about that another day because I got to get through one more quick thing, and then we get to the most important part of this show. So we had a backstage segment with Roosh, Private Party, and Jose the assistant. Jose went through all the times that Private Party hasn't been there to help Roosh and says they better be there tonight because if they're not, they'll get sued because Jose knows all about Matt Hardy's contract tampering, which I have dealt with so much in the NBA. Anyway.
Keep Roosh off the mic. Continue.
It's National Scissoring
Day. He can't
speak
English. He didn't do anything wrong.
He said one line in his second language. Cut him some slack. Who cares? It's National Scissoring Day, people. Flan, flan, flan. This was the greatest segment in Dynamite history. It was. I've no notes. Well, I have notes, but I've like no complaints. It was great. It started with Shivani asking to scissor Taz, and Taz just basically told him to fuck off, which is great in not so many words. Max delivered one of my favorite raps that he's ever had, and one of his best in a while. And Danny, I will go immediately to you just for the rap, not the whole thing, just the rap. What were your thoughts on the rap?
Oh, absolutely. For this rap was fantastic because you see, this was a unique circumstance for the rap. He was rapping to no opponents waiting for him in the ring. So it's like, who is he rapping at, you know? But he made it work. He made it very...
he just spit bars. Like
he made it very political because they're in DC, but he didn't take specific controversial shots. He just... Joe Biden's loving it, and he didn't even stutter it. Oh, that was fucking fantastic. This was, I'd probably say it was like a 9.3 out of 10. It's no James's rap, but it's pretty close. You know, it's
a rap by which all other rap shall be judged. James's future rap. But yeah, no, I loved it. It was amazing. Anyway, they had a nice, thing out there, podium for them to stand at, and Bowens cut the majority of this promo, and he was great. He was on absolute fucking fire. Said AEW stands for Acclaimed every Wednesday. He called Swerve Sneaky Swerve and kind of like did a trumpito bit there for a bit. Sneaky Swerve wants you to doing all that shit, which was great. Bowens then said, and he had a lot of great lines. I wasn't able to write them all down. I was typing at 1,000,000 miles a minute. I literally got Purple Tunnel starting with this promo, trying to write everything down. But he eventually gets to saying that it's not Swerve's house. And Billy Gunn cuts him off and says, no, it's not. It's Daddy Ass's house. To much applause. Billy Gunn then borrows The Rock's millions.
And millions.
Thank you.
He fucking owes it to him after that King of the Ring promo. He fucking owes it to him.
So he borrowed that. And then he went on to announce that he went to City Hall to pick up a gift for the Acclaimed and presents them with the scissors to the city. And then Bowen runs around the ring with them, and Billy tells him not to run with scissors, which was great. Max then steps to the podium, and he gave a very beautiful and heartfelt speech, honestly, about his father winning the Super Bowl with the Washington football team a few decades ago, and how much...
What's their name?
They are formerly known as a racist term. Skins. Anyway, he talks about how much
they have a name now.
They're the Commanders now. The Washington football.
They're not still the Washington football team?
No, they're the Commanders.
No, they're the Commanders now.
The commies.
Whoa. Way to make me break character.
You guys have never heard that?
No.
We don't care.
I don't know how James hasn't heard that. We were in a fantasy football chat together. We were calling them that for 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
I guess he's never heard it out loud.
Anyway, Max talked about how much pride his father has in that Super Bowl ring and how he treats the titles the same way. He then talks about how there's a lot of division in the country, but there is one thing everybody can agree on, and it's that everybody loves the Acclaimed. So they go to try to do a bipartisan scissor when Swerve music hits to much booze, which was great. He interrupts, says the Acclaimed are jokes, and that Billy is helping to get a whole new generation of kids suspended from school, which I thought was amazing. Swerve goes on to say that the title should be over Billy's shoulders because he won the titles for the Acclaimed, and challenges Billy Gunn to a match next week, saying that he better not put those 2 fingers up because Billy will never be able to use that hand again since Rock beats Scissors and he actually pulled out a physical fucking rock. Then out of nowhere, Smart Mark Sterling comes out and yelling about how paper beats covers Rock because he had a stack of papers with him, and then ran into the ring saying that He was right about Swerve, and that Swerve was a jerk, and nobody was listening to him. And that the Acclaim need him to beat Swerve in our glory. Smart Mark says that the Acclaim need to give the people what they want, which is the three of them to scissor him. So Max decks him, Billy power slams him, and Bowens hits him with an actual leg scissor from the second rope. Billy grabs the mic, accepts Swerve's challenge, and we get our three-way scissor. So, Danny, I will go back to you. Like I said, perfect segments from your boys.
I agree with you. Perfect segment, amazing. Oh man, how great is it just watching over people be over? Like sometimes these things aren't so complicated. Sometimes you could write something so silly and just let it play out and it'll just be great. Because when you're over, you can do shit like this. This is your scissor, of a segment. This was perfect. Bowens got to shine in a way he normally doesn't get to because Max is always doing the raps. So they let Bowens do most of the talking, which is just so smart, so basic, but so smart. And he did great. The only note I'll say is that dude is brolic, but wearing a big ass jersey made him look like a child compared to Daddy Ass, which is fine because he's next to someone called Daddy Ass. So I guess it makes sense in that regard. And then letting Max get, sincere a bit was nice because you don't get to see that because you normally rap and saying very obnoxious over the top shit. But even the stuff about, division in the country, it's like, bro, you're the one playing both sides of the political spectrum.
Is that why he always ends up on top?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, hey, if that's what he likes.
And we don't know because he's more flippant with his political beliefs than his sexuality. He's saying he likes Jungle Boy as his fetish in one of his raps, but he's dated Chris Statlander. Like, I don't know.
And
he dated he dated Statlander?
Yeah, that was a big part of the rap battle from the Ass Boys lines. But yeah, they're also all from Long Island, so of course he's probably dated MJF too. Like, I don't.
Well, I was gonna say he lusts after MJF.
Yeah, but maybe I'm sure they back in Long Island all coming up together at the same time. They had their moments, so it's just funny hearing that from him, and it's also funny on Tonight of all nights to say, there's so much division and there's such a big divide in the country, in our locker room, and then let's just all come together, it's just, and that's a very Acclaimed thing to do. So it's not even tone deaf. It's just, it's either purposely or inadvertently tongue in cheek, and either way it works for them. Perfect segment. They have saved Swerve's AEW career that wasn't in jeopardy, but like they made me care about him when I was like at best slightly above indifferent towards him. Because he is such a good heel. Why did you guys want him to be a face? Why did you guys want to cheer this dude?
I didn't.
I mean it in general. I don't think anyone was like, this guy has to be
the royal you.
We're all very happy about him being here. But now I'm fucking super into him. Now them winning the titles is a more acceptable thing. And yes, I know this is coming at the expense of FTR, but you know what? That's on Tony for not striking while the iron's hot because with all the CM Punk and Elite stuff and all of that, one of the main things I took away from this, because ultimately it's a bunch of grown men fighting, and I'm not going to take it that seriously, but one of the things, strike while the iron's hot. No more waiting. No more we can do it later. No saving Punk versus Bryan for down the line. Do things while you can. The Acclaimed are over. And I love that they're acknowledging that they're homegrown, that they're proof that the company works. They're proof that biding your time and getting over and working, you can be a success story. They are just the best story in AEW in terms of people who started teaming in AEW and are now the tag champs, and just deservingly so. They are so over. They are more over than any other team. FTR is the only one who makes it close, and it is close. But no other team in the history of AEW has been as over as the Acclaimed and FTR have this year. Genuinely, I'm not even being hyperbolic when I say that. Like the Lucha Bros were incredibly over, nowhere near this. Jurassic Express, incredibly over, nowhere near this, even though Luchasaurus should be a star, but it's such a feel-good story. It's so nice. I could watch these guys just be over all day and I would be satisfied, because sometimes it just feels good. Sometimes it's just nice to watch someone you like be loved by everyone else. It's just fantastic. I can gush over this more, but you can let one of those two rappers talk about it.
I will. I also gotta say, like you said, they're not only incredibly over, but the crowd played into this great tonight. They all, they were told to bring the scissors and the signs and everything, and they came to play. They had, I don't know how much AEW actually gave out to the crowd, but even if they didn't give anything, that place was wall to wall scissors and signs, and somebody brought back the old South Park wrestler signs for them. Like,
loved it.
Yeah, that was.
Have you guys ever been to a show
throwback
with like the Cesaro section signs or any of those, like the little rectangles ones? Like,
it's the piece of the 8x10s. Yeah, no, I have not.
I haven't either.
Fans do that. Like, fans print them out and hand them out. Like, I got handed a Cesaro section sign at 2 different WWE shows. Like, I'm sure once in a while they do have, WWE will put them out, but that is a fan thing to bring those signs. I truly believe that was all fans.
I remember, I think the Cesaro section was the original one when they did that. I remember the post on Reddit where some some person was like, I printed a bunch of these, I'm just going to hand them out outside, so that everyone, and he got his whole section plus a bunch of other people to hold them up. And Cesaro came out and was like, wait, holy shit, where did these come from? Like, he was so happy. So I think since then it's really picked up, and it's awesome to see just, the homegrown people like that, just over, the crowd loves them. They want to get behind them, and, they will do anything to do that. Even something as small as printing an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper out. So that's great. Eeny, meeny, miny. James, what did you think of this absolutely perfect segment?
I'm just so happy Billy Gunn is having this career resurgence. I'm all here for it. Have Daddy Ass be the AEW World Champion. Fuck it. Just throw the fucking company away. Make it about Billy Gunn.
He's more brolic than everyone in the company. I'd buy it.
Exactly. Billy versus Wardlow for the TNT title when?
Yesterday. Give it to me yesterday.
I'm here.
I'm super hyped for this group. I'm super happy for them. I didn't need the Mark Sterling of it all, but hey, if this is the new Dudley Boy, like, headbutt to the groin, and this was like the first example of it, we saw history being made tonight. An
actual
guys.
Physical scissor for a move.
Yes. So I think that could be a great tag team finish for these two guys, or at the very least, a great tag team signature move. And it was weird that Keith Lee wasn't there tonight. I have to assume something came up, because he aired his grievances with them last week. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to believe that he'd be annoyed and would want to come out tonight.
I like that they're coming out separately. I think that's by design. I don't think there's anything like
that's possible.
Well, I know that Swerve actually couldn't make it last week. I know that
does he live in Florida?
I think that's what it was. But if they decided to, throw an audible because of it, like you said, Danny, and this is by design, I am here for it. So great segment, 10 out of 10, no notes, just give me more. And which is the number 1 shirt for the Acclaimed? Is it the Scissor Me? Is it the Scissor Me Daddy Ass, or is it the Scissor Me Daddy?
I don't know.
It's got to be, I think, whichever one came first. It's got to be those.
I think it's the Scissor Me Daddy Ass one. Whatever one Billy had on, and I'm pretty sure he had the Scissor Me Daddy Ass one on.
But also, I think, as James put very eloquently, one of the big takeaways I did forget to mention, and my gushing over it, is I agree. Fuck Road Dogg is what I think you were saying.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So I am going to tune into Monday Night Raw for the DX reunion.
It will not get as big a pop. Not even close to.
No, I agree. But I want to hear that crowd do the Scissor Me Daddy chant. I think it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
I want it to happen.
And let's see if much in WWE crowds right now, but I hope they do too.
Isn't it happening in Brooklyn?
Oh,
Is this Monday oh
Yeah, I think so. Oh, if it's happening in Brooklyn, it's happened.
All I'm saying is
who are we sending to get this chance started?
I would love to see Triple H try to buy that pissant company now. And this is Billy's beautiful revenge.
Yep. I will go to chat in a sec. I just wanted to hop into the chat. Anthony Navarro said, and hi, Ant. The Acclaim feel like a moment that it made into a movement or something along those lines. Which
I get what he's saying. Yeah,
they were a moment, and now they've become a movement as of tonight. And quite honestly, it does really feel like that. So with that, Chad, I will throw it to you.
I almost have nothing to say. You guys have said it all. I mean, this segment was beyond perfect for me. I think every single participant hit their mark. I mean, it's a moment, it's a movement. Fuck Road Dogg. I said before, I will not ever shed light on the absolute worst talent in DX, which is Road Dogg. Like, he's a waste.
Sure.
When I'm right, James. Follow me.
No, I am agreeing with you.
Follow the buzzers, man. But yeah, this was just perfect. I mean, I'm like Danny. I gushed over it. I adored it. It was wonderful. It meant something to me. It was a great moment. It's something I'll always remember. It was just memorable. Good shit.
We have confirmation from Navarro that Raw is indeed in Brooklyn. So
fuck.
Let's go. I hope we get
Well, no, I mean, we knew that they were going to be in Brooklyn. I don't know if we have the confirmation that the DX reunion will be in Brooklyn.
Well, if Raw's in Brooklyn this Monday, then yeah, it's going to be this Monday.
Oh, then there you go. So yes,
Boom.
Thank you, Anthony Navarro.
All right, let's keep rolling. And I don't know how you were going to follow that segment, but they did it with a video package for Dark Order versus Death Triangle for the trio titles on Rampage. They played up the fact that is the anniversary of Mr. Brody Lee's final match. And obviously this was changed after the whole Andrade thing, but we already discussed that. So I'm not getting back into that shit.
The only thing to say is John Silver does a great Pac impersonation.
Oh, that was absolutely hilarious. And I really enjoyed the fact that he turns around. It's like, good. And they're like, oh yeah, that was amazing. Good job, dude. I like they subtly get the BTE Dark Order into the show as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And it's always good. Then we had a backstage interview with Madison Rayne and Sky Blue. Madison was saying she sees a lot of potential in Sky. Anna Jay and Ty Mello interrupt, saying Sky needs a sports entertainer coach to help work on her charisma. Sky says that she could work on it, just like how Anna and Ty could work on their wrestling, and challenge them to a match on Rampage. Ty and Anna accept, saying sports entertainers always beat wrestlers, because that's what Jericho always says. And then we get into Hangman Adam Page versus Roosh. And quite frankly, I didn't take too many notes on this because I was still typing out all of the Acclaim stuff. But Roosh got an early upper hand off the distraction from Jose, the assistant, who was out there with him, choking Hangman out with the camera cable. Later in the match, Hangman kicked out of a straitjacket pile driver, which was really cool. Really cool looking. Roosh goes in for the bull's horns. Heyman comes just ripping out of the corner and decks Roosh with a clothesline, then hits the buckshot lariat for the win. And this match is really good, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But Private Party comes out after the match rather reluctantly, just to fulfill their contract and not get sued. But Mox appears from the crowd, and Private Party back away as Mox goes into the ring. Mox says he's been waiting for 3 years for this match, 3 years of them circling each other and beating pretty much everybody there is to beat in the company except each other. Now Mox needs to beat Hangman because Hangman is standing in the way of him being the top guy in the company, being the champ, and being the best in the world. Mox says his piece and is about to leave. Hangman asks him if he's been waiting for 3 years. Where is he going? Mox comes back and says that Hangman's a sweet kid, but like a lot of other kids in the company, he says a lot of stupid shit. Mox then says he's going to give Hangman a pass this one time, but he will never get one again, and tells him to keep his mouth shut. So a lot there, James, but I I like this Moxley stuff afterwards. I thought it was good. I thought Mox got a phenomenal promo.
He did.
Like I said, I saw the match. I saw enough of the match to know I liked it, but like I was typing shit out. But I think the promo here overshadowed what was a fairly hyped up match.
It was. See, it's the way Danny feels about Andrade is how I feel about Roosh. I can't really stand the guy. I guess I will say there's a difference. I do recognize Roosh has talent. I don't think there's anything really truly special there. And I think his, how he carries himself overshadows his ability, and it's not a good shadow. So, but yeah.
What's the difference there? Because I feel like
irrelevant.
We're just Andrade, and that would have been an impression of me.
Irrelevant.
Erroneous on all counts.
So we're just gonna move on. I agree with you. Moxley cut an amazing promo. I didn't like it though, because I don't believe Hangman would just allow Moxley to go. That is not the Hangman that we've seen go after the title. That's not the Hangman we saw go after Punk. That just didn't feel like something Hangman would do. And he kind of looked like a Punk in my opinion. Like he got buoyed by Moxley.
He did get kind of sunned, yeah.
And that's fine sometimes. Sometimes the champ should be able to do that, where your opponent should be able to get over on the baby face. But these are two baby faces, and it didn't feel natural to Hangman. So I can't say the promo was bad. I just didn't like the reaction from Hangman. And the match was good. The match was fine.
Yeah.
The match was good.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I think it does make Moxley look like a complete badass. He looked great, obviously. He said a lot of stuff about respecting Hangman, both in and out of the ring, which I enjoyed. But Mox is a serious threat, and probably, in my opinion, the most serious Hangman has come across. So perhaps, a bit of caution here was warranted out of Hangman, especially after that threat. That was a serious threat from Mox. So
it was.
Chad, I don't necessarily think Hangman came out looking bad here, or at least as bad as James was saying he did.
I think he looked fairly
It's not
bad.
like a punk.
not a total wuss, but I think he looked fairly bad. I kind of didn't get the concept of Mox sunning him and then Hangman losing next week. So it kind of
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So that kind of rubbed me wrong. Just that, only that aspect. Other than that, the promo was dope. I'm having probably the hardest time figuring out why Roosh is on my television every fucking week.
Because he's all elite now, man.
They just signed him as the new shiny toy.
I feel like Eric with fucking Yuta and Garcia. Like, what? He's here every single week. I just, okay, he can wrestle. That's fine. I don't get why we have to see him every week. And isn't he like Andrade's brother?
No, they were old faction members together, and then he actually beat up his brother on AEW. Dragon Lee, the guy with the mask.
Okay, that guy. Okay, yeah. I knew there was a blood bond somewhere.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't understand why.
People are the same too, Chad. Wow. Okay.
Oh my god.
What was that, Danny?
Don't. Just,
okay.
Next, for your own benefit. Move on. Move on.
I'm tired of seeing this guy. I never want to see Hangman lose, so I'm glad he got the win. But then after that, he got sunned. So did he win? I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I just wasn't seeing it that way. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. Danny, are you with them?
Well, I'm always right. So
you're not wrong, Rev. I don't know what they're talking about. What they're saying makes literally no sense to me. And even if you want to argue that Hangman got sunned, that's because he's a punk. But wow. I don't think so. I think he had his standing up for himself moments of, telling him, well, if you've been waiting for 3 years, why'd you leave? That's his moment. Mox just got the last word because he is the vet ultimately. And also, don't forget, Hangman's not a brave guy. He is a guy who struggles with his confidence and anxiety. So just because he finally stood up to Kenny after years doesn't mean he's gonna be this brave with everyone else. And look what happened last time. He was that brave and rambunctious and striking first. He looked like an idiot against Punk. So, maybe he is mentally a little more cautious now, and that's totally fine. And then the match I didn't watch. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Who wrestled?
Roosh.
I guess Roosh, because I keep hearing his name.
El Toro Blanco.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I don't care about that. I agree. He's another 2.0 and early Daniel Garcia, where it's like he's the new lower mid card guy that's going to be losing to the stars and mid card people for the next month and a half, and then he'll fade away to dark like everyone else. But yeah, that's all. You're not wrong, Rev. They're wrong, and it's fine.
Apparently Eric in the chat agrees with me, so maybe I am wrong.
Also, then you're absolutely wrong.
No, I don't know. I just think this is the first time I feel like they've spoken with each other, at least on screen. I think their previous interactions were just stare downs.
No, they've wrestled before, not in singles though. Hangman
in the ladder match and in a tag match.
Yeah.
Right. But they haven't spoken to each other. That was my point.
Do they know each other's names? Before tonight, can we
That's
prove
fair.
that?
It appears so. It looks like Mox has been keeping an eye on him. So, but I don't know. I think maybe it's just Hangman trying to gauge him, and Mox trying to do the same. I know you said they wrestle each other, but they're vastly different people. I would think from the last time they did.
Or maybe it's time to just admit that Hangman's a loser now.
No.
Guy's been winning since I know he lost the title, but he's been doing a bit of winning. So
he's winning, but he's not winning though.
Exactly.
He hasn't been as prominently featured. I will
You look at that guy and go, man, that's a winner.
Yeah, I do. That was kind of the whole point of his arc. It took him a while to get there, but he became a winner. All right.
Danny's the reason millennial cowboys are, anxious. Yeah.
Even millennial cowboys get the blues. Okay.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. We had the backstage interview with Willow Nightingale that Danny and James mentioned earlier, where she mentioned she's been on a roll and wants another shot at the TBS title. Jade and the baddies roll up saying Willow already lost to Jade twice. Jade says that Willow will be number 39. And then Willow sends to James's favorite line was like, "Oh, well, can you beat me a third time? Maybe I'll be the 1 and 38-1." And the match is made for Battle of the Belts on Friday. It wasn't great. it wasn't great
either.
Yeah, I mean, never. No, I'm not even going to try to defend it. It's
just move on.
Yeah, it was bad, guys. It was bad.
Yeah,
and I like Willow. I like Willow.
Same.
I like her, but this was bad.
Yeah, not your best work, kid. And finally, we had Luchasaurus versus Fuego del Sol. Hey, look, it's Fuego, and he's gone. He loses in about 15 seconds. Luchasaurus goes in for a post-match beatdown when Jungle Boy comes out with a chair and lays it across Luchasaurus's back, knocking him out of the ring.
Hold on. You know what? I'm sorry, Rev, because you do such a great job hosting, but I need to...
I already know what you're going to say. I know Jungle Boy's the heel.
To correct you there, but okay, the way you told it is not what happened. So what happened was Luchasaurus is so good that he won his match so fast, but he's such a baby face. He was like, oh no, this crowd isn't getting what they paid for. They wanted to see this match and they barely got to see anything. So let me do some more moves so the crowd can go home happy. And then, like you alluded to, giant fucking heel Jungle Boy comes out and ruins one of the other thing the crowd was there to see besides National Scissoring Day. So like, it's like, I'm sorry, you like I say, you normally do a great job, but like, I don't know what you wrote down in your notes there, but it's just not what happened.
Bullshit.
Danny's right.
Did you pull something doing all those mental gymnastics?
I've learned from one person and one person only.
Anyway, after Luchasaurus is running out of the ring by the dastardly Jungle Boy,
don't placate him.
I knew he was gonna do it anyway, and I was gonna throw to him with that, but he couldn't wait.
Why was he talking about it? What else is there to say?
Anyway, Jungle Boy says Luchasaurus was his best friend, and after all they had been through, he chose Christian and broke Jungle Boy's heart. So Jungle Boy says he's going to break Luchasaurus piece by piece, just say when and where. And Christian says it'll be next week in his hometown of Toronto. So, Danny, I'm sure you're looking forward to Luchasaurus exacting his revenge next week.
I mean, look, I don't want to pick apart everything Jungle Boy's doing because I like the kid, but like, you know, why wouldn't he choose Christian? How many singles matches did Luchasaurus wrestle before Christian? There you go. There's no dispute in this. It's undeniable. James, you don't get to speak, man. We're moving on. What happened after? The show's over, right?
I do agree with Cody Perkins in the chat. Jack Perry has gotten so much better on the mic, and I was about to agree.
Yeah, because now that he's a heel, he can cut heel promos.
God, all right, moving on.
I was about to agree. Chad, you gonna back Danny up here?
Absolutely, copy and paste what Danny Hernandez said.
And James, from the other perspective of this,
there is no other perspective.
We are seeing, a more aggressive side of Jungle Boy.
We are. I think they've been very careful with the storylines Jungle Boy has had. The stuff with the Elite, particularly Adam Cole, the stuff with Luchasaurus and Christian, has all done so much to develop him as a character and to make us actually feel invested in Jack Perry.
Yeah. And as a wrestler too, not just in the ring, but on the mic as well, as we just said.
Absolutely. I mean, he still has a way to go. He still flubs here and there. His delivery sometimes is still a little off, but he is leaps and bounds better than where he was even 6 months ago. And I'm very happy with his development. Shocking. I think Luchasaurus needs to win this feud.
How is that shocking? It's like staying in the obvious.
It was common sense to me.
I think he wins the match next week. Luchasaurus does. I think Jungle Boy eventually wins the feud when Christian gets healthy.
Exactly. But I mean, that's, I think, 8 months away. So I don't know the reality of how long that's going to continue. But
yeah,
I think Luchasaurus needs to win this, and Jungle Boy eventually gets the win back. Maybe winning the TNT title off of Luchasaurus would be really cool. I think that was discussed in our chat at one point. But yeah, I like this bit. I like seeing these extra layers in. I do wish that Luchasaurus was able to get on the mic and sort of explain himself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also understand that that's just not in the cards, it seems. But
even if they did on something like this week on Dynamite or whatever, like whatever the thing that they put out beforehand, just to give some explanation as to why Luchasaurus did what he did. It's not like the guy can't talk. The guy can talk.
I mean, look, he can cut a great promo, but he's going for like a Jurassic Park kind of dinosaur, not a Land Before Time type of dinosaur. So he's not going to speak. Okay, that's why Christian's there, okay? And he's doing a great job as a babyface manager, so I don't see what the problem is. Everyone's benefiting. Luchasaurus is finally getting the singles run he deserves, and Jungle Boy is finding his own as a newfound heel. It's all win. Like, there's no downside. Who's not benefiting from this?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. It has lifted everybody up. I think Luchasaurus has a really cool new gimmick. I think Jungle Boy has, as we just said, improved exponentially in all areas, and Christian has done a great job helping get both these guys over.
Absolutely.
So this has honestly been one of AEW's better booked feuds in the last 6 months or so. All right, yeah. So after that, we just had a video package hyping up Pac versus Trent for the All Atlantic title at Battle of the Belts, and that wrapped up Dynamite after the main event. So guys, anniversary edition of Dynamite, despite everything overshadowing it, James, what'd you think?
I thought this was a very strong show. I mean, it definitely felt like filler, but at the same time, we did get a lot of good stuff in it. So some great wrestling. I enjoyed watching the first episode of Ring of Honor, and I
was going to say the same thing.
I liked seeing different talents highlighted. We talked about it. Not a Brian Cage guy. It was cool to see Brian Cage, I enjoyed the match a lot. I enjoyed the match a
It was
lot.
Dude, it was
send off. He's great. It's great. He can go retire.
It was the big meaty men slapping me. James can't resist. It doesn't matter who it is.
MJF getting to wrestle, great. And I know Chad said he wants to see him wrestle more. I love how little we see MJF wrestle because when he does, it just feels like a magical moment.
It really does. It feels important.
And I think maybe they could balance it a little bit better, but this was great. And this was a great night for him and a great night for Yuta. And yeah, I am just be prepared for a lot of tears next week from me when Brian loses. Again.
Yeah. I'm more than ready for that. Chad, your thoughts?
Same as James. I enjoyed ROH the pilot, episode 1, season 1.
It's like the backdoor pilot of NCIS on Jag.
No, it was great though. I enjoyed tonight. It was stacked. It was a lot of good wrestling, a lot of good promos. The segments didn't bother me. I'm not annoyed as I usually am. We're good.
Yeah. And Danny.
The show was completely missable besides the Acclaim segment. The biggest takeaway from the whole show, Acclaimed every Wednesday.
Well, they are champs, so hopefully they are on every Wednesday. I think I'm going to echo what everybody else said. This was a very strong show. I think that's what Cody said in our chat, and I thought that was a good word. Very strong show. It did highlight a lot of people we don't always see, which I thought was great, especially a lot of the Ring of Honor stuff. And I think we're finding a fairly decent rhythm here without the Elite and CM Punk. I think this is now the 3rd or 4th episode since everything went down. And the lack of them, as much as I do miss them, has allowed us to highlight other people.
There's no way it's only been 3 or 4.
Wait,
really?
What?
3 or 4 episodes of Dynamite since all Brawl Out.
Yeah, to
month,
be
right?
honest, I don't miss them.
It was Labor Day.
I miss Kenny so much.
It was Labor Day. It's been like 4 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They're fine. We don't need any of the CEOs anymore. They can all be gone. That's fine.
They can all go to WWE.
Well, like I said, I think it's very interesting to see how AEW has functioned without them for the first time in its history. And I think, like I said, they're doing a very good job. So I hope they continue to do so. And if and when the Elite and or Punk are reinserted into the show, I hope that their presence doesn't diminish everything that's happened over this period of time and however else long it takes.
Don't worry, Punk's going to become world champion as soon as he gets there.
And that's fine.
Great. Anyway, that about wraps things up here for us tonight. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We are at an exorbitant amount of subscribers compared to where we were a month ago. So thank you all for that. I'm reading 412. That could have changed during this episode. I don't entirely know, but I would like to thank all 412 of you for subscribing. Be sure to check out our social media stuff. I'll throw it in the description below. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Danny, I need that TikTok link. Never gonna get it. Be sure to check out all of our other videos as well. We will have an episode coming out later this week. If we have any more news on the Andrade Sammy stuff, we'll do our best to talk about it. And we'll talk about some other stuff too. Also, Danny reviews Raw on Mondays. James tends to do Impact on Thursdays. And I don't know, maybe Chad will do an NXT when he figures it out on Tuesday. Who knows?
I'm too popular now.
Yep. We can tell by the way you're dressed. But for Danny Hernandez, Chad Big Bad Johnson, and James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching. And we will see you here next time on the Market Down Pod.